Welcome back, mere mortalites. You find us on the 25th of January, 2026, just a little bit past 9 a.m. And once again, if you want to watch us live, listen in, converse, you can do so as well. 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. You got Juan here.
And Karen here.
And we've got the topics. So once again, we do meanderings, a little bit of deep conversations with plenty of lighthearted touches. We've just gotten back from a 5-kilometer run. We were supposed to do slightly longer, although Juan bitched out. It was also very warm. Knees are heavy.
That's right.
Mum's spaghetti.
Yep.
But we've got, maybe as part of that, I want to talk about hell yeses versus basically no's. There's a difference. There's a difference between not hell no's, just hell yeses, or like the abundant yes, versus, yeah, okay, and no's. And I think you had something, you said this, maybe a story around it. No, actually, that's what brought it up. You were talking about going on a third date with
Correct.
a particular individual. I won't call out her name just in case she's listening to this. But this individual, you kind of went and you mentioned to me, like it wasn't a hell yes. So it was kind of like a no. Mm-hmm. So I wanted just to talk about that. There's plenty of things we can, I think, discuss in various topics around the hell yeses and the no's.
Yep.
But maybe just in that moment, or like that singular perspective when it comes to maybe relationship or dating, what triggered in your mind, the variation between hell yes to it being yes, maybe, like what?
Well, this is where I've actually gone back on my initial reading of the situation, which was bringing up this hell yes versus no, which is something I'd heard of before, I think mostly from Tim Ferriss, but I'm sure plenty of other people have done it. And it gets to, I guess, like the second portion of this is like deciding where to spend your time and kind of how to make decisions in a way. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I've actually changed my mind, and it's because I think the decision making for hell yeses versus noses versus no should be something like if you've got a lot of opportunities, if you've I don't know how, a lot of opportunity, I would say. So when Tim Ferriss has talked about this before, it's like, should I take this coffee meeting? Should I agree to this, potential plan in 6 months' time to do X, Y, or Z with certain person? And I think that's where he was saying, like, in that case, unless it's a hell yes, it should be a no. So, when it is a lot more personal on relationships, a one-to-one thing, that's when I think I'm not sure that decision making actually is the best. And upon talking with some friends where I was like, I was a little bit, I just not sure if I felt the spark or something like that. A couple of friends who were in similar boats, are in similar boats, were saying like, hey, this is where you should maybe have a rethink of that, and gave me some reasons why. And I was like, okay, that was good reasons.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting because, there's maybe, I won't go super long here, but I was thinking there's not context, there's domains. You got to bound this question or the principle of hell yeses versus no's, because I think the underlying part of that is its opportunity, like the opportunity cost.
Yes.
And when you're younger, so this same type of thought process wouldn't have gone well with a young one, nor would I think applies to a young one or younger individuals. And the reason I make that kind of statement is when you're 15, 16, 17, and someone says, hey, let's go play tennis, or let's go play golf, or maybe go into this particular date with someone who you don't know much about whether it's going to be that good. You're saying no to do something else. Usually at that age, it's to do, I don't know, go and muck around with mates, play some video games, maybe help her out around the house. The opportunity cost of saying yes to it versus something else you're doing is likely low value. Now, there might be exceptions to that, right? Like maybe you're super young and you're building a business or doing something else where the opportunity cost is significant. But by the younger or the less you have structured or put in place, I think the less this applies. I don't think the hell yes, no concept is that great when you are developing yourself as a human, into the context of the world, into building your social structures. No way. And I don't know if that often gets said, because the way that Tim puts it forward, you know, in his kind of call out, and I think this is the missing bit, is that this theory applies really well when you've made it, or when you've succeeded in a lot of things that you wanted to achieve. And then absolutely use your hell yeses and nos. But by the by, someone who's up and coming or trying to do new things, that's definitely not the tact you should be taking when you're a newbie or an entrant. It's more of a veteran move in the particular context that it is. So I'll give you, this is the other example. So we're running back here. I didn't finish off what I was saying, which is we're doing running right now, and we're planning on doing a marathon in June, which is the Brisbane Marathon. I still haven't booked it. I'm going to book it today.
Yeah, okay.
Today,
yeah,
this afternoon.
If he wants the early bird.
That's right. But before I leave this house, I'm going to book it. I actually put it on my calendar. And the thought process that came to me was, okay, once we do the run, I know myself, I'm going to want to continue doing some sort of fitnessy, runny type event, but I don't necessarily want to continue pursuing an ultra marathon or another marathon. Maybe I will. Right now, as I say this, I don't know if I will. And so then my mindset went, okay, well, what's the next annual goal that I could start like flirting with and thinking about? And one came immediately to mind. I said to Karen this last year, I was like, I want to do something like playing golf every month or something different. And as I'm reflecting on that now, it's sitting in that boundary of, this is not a hell yes. You know, it's like a yes, but the amount of time I've got to find for it, I don't know if it'd be the equivalent. It's like, it is kind
Golf's
of
a lot of time.
It's kind of like fitness, but it's not, because you're walking a lot. But then the crystal thing that came up in my mind was, okay, what about tennis? What about, rather than doing running like I'm doing to the volume I'm doing now, it might be an equivalent of a tennis game on a Sunday morning or a tennis on a Wednesday afternoon, just being, you know, one time a week, something to that effect. And there, the concept of, it doesn't have to be hell yes, in the context of, okay, if I'm replacing running now, which I'm using for 3 hours, 4 hours a week, if I go, okay, well, I'm going to replace that with 2 hours of tennis, 3 hours of tennis, it doesn't have to be a hell yes. It can just be like a, yes, that's good. Up until a certain point when either I decide, it like starts pushing at the boundaries of taking away other things. But in those concepts there where it's newish, it doesn't have to be a hell yes. It doesn't work, doesn't need to be. But if it started pushing against the boundaries of established things that I'm doing, whether it's be my training or my being in family or my work, okay, that's starting to become okay, it has to be a hell yes. But if I'd just come out of school, if I was in uni, if it was my first, days of work or, a couple of weeks of work, and something came up where it's an opportunity to network or to visit a new location, it doesn't have to be a hell yes. You can go and travel or do the thing and experience, because the cost of, let's just say, losing a job after a couple of weeks, or not preparing yourself for the first attempt at a half marathon in your 18 years old, is like almost immaterial in the time that you've got available, where that domain shortens as you get older and you've got more constrictions and responsibilities and stuff like that. So I think it's incredibly dependent on the time and place. So then when I get to I think that maybe the comment that friends would have made for you as well is, I get the point where it's not a hell yes, and so you kind of go, okay, it doesn't have to be. But maybe on the other coin is, yeah, but what's your opportunity cost? Like, what are you actually losing to go on these things? And maybe what the comment that they're saying is, it's not much. Like, just go do it. Like, how much is it taking away from your everyday other life? If you can reasonably come up with a reason, then cool. Then that's why you're not a hell yes, and it makes sense. But in domains where you do have the flexibility to make that happen, then you almost treat it as like a training. Like, it's just cool. It's training. It's just going through those reps, being able to do it. Might not work out, but that's the step for the next person that comes along.
Yeah. Definitely agree on the youngness aspect or the novelty. If it's something new, it should just be hell yes, and there's not versus no. It's just
there's hell yes, let's do it. Yeah. It doesn't. And again, it doesn't have to feel like a hell yes. It's just yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I wonder if this kind of decision-making strategy, and we'll apply it to more actual examples probably in the second part, but I wonder if this is something that you can only use every now and then because you have to really think about it or something, or if there's another version which is yes versus hell no for perhaps like minor everyday things, you know, because there is so many things that we all could or want to do. Would I want to perhaps discover a new recipe or meal? Sure, I'd love to. I've got my, you know, set 6 to 8 that I kind of put on rotate. Would I love to add more into that? Would I love to get back into baking and all these things? It's like, yes, but hell no. It'll take me a lot of time to like, I don't, just simply do not have the capacity for that. So maybe that's another decision-making process because it's tricky. Like you said, there's so many opportunities all the time. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And so what that anything is probably should determine a lot of, take up a lot of your time.
Yeah, it's like, it's the amount of time that you have to do something. Generally, you will fill it with that amount of time to do. So I'll expand on that. If I'm doing a task at work and someone gives me 5 hours to do it and I have 5 full hours of availability to do it, I might use up all of that 5 hour time to make it the right detail and get the information and whatever. But if you get given half an hour, well, you've got half an hour to create whatever it is that you need, and you kind of chop away at these various things. And the constraint of time makes it a little bit easier within that context to do the, like, almost either hell knows or the no. If it's not a hell yes, you're not doing it, right? Oh, doesn't actually need that. I've got no time. Okay, it's only purely the hell yeses, the things that are absolutely mandatory, if you will. I think it applies a little bit as well in life, where you don't see it this way, but when you're younger or when there's time that is available to you, it doesn't have to be a hell yes. It can just be, okay, cool, I can add things, I can bring them in. And like we've saw this in our life when we do goal setting and we're trying to fulfill things, in that you can just keep stacking until all of a sudden, and this happens, I guess, just in age or in time, because it just takes time to fill yourself up. You just get a filled calendar, a filled day in your life. And at that point, there is no extra little room to fit in other things. And that's where it's going to be a hell yes, because you've got to knock something else out. And then it becomes more of a problem of, okay, well, I've got to remove things or switch things out. And then there's a harder like bracket and going, okay, what do I fit in here with this constricted amount of time? So I think it's more natural in the context when you're doing like an action or an activity, or when it's a more unconscious thing where you've just filled up your time and day. You value, especially as your time goes on, you value everything that you do in your life high for something else to come along and the opportunity cost to be real. I think that's when it becomes like, okay, this has to be a hell yes.
Yeah, and I think diving into it more, it's about committing something big or significant. So, for example,
I agree.
I last year, 2 years ago now, went to Brazil, came back for mum, and because she was sick, passed away, funeral, all that, and then I'm like, I'm going to go back to Brazil again. It just so coincidentally lined up that, you know, a friend of mine was saying, hey, there's this handstand guy, we could go to his place in Brazil, you know, we could drive across there. It'll cost, you know, 4,000, roughly 4,000 Australian was what it was. But it's kind of a discount because he'll let 2 of us stay for that amount.
Sure.
Luke, and this is Lucas I'm talking about. You know, he didn't have that money at the time, but I was going like, okay, this would be a significant kind of commitment, like $4,000, not nothing, especially for a, you know, 7-day holiday or something. Like that's a decent chunk of change. I can imagine many people were like, if you told this to people, they'd be like, you spent $4,000 to go to to learn handstands. And for me, I went, no, not actually. This is actually $4,000 for like a reset kind of, you know, mum had just passed away. I'm going back to Brazil. It's a good chance to like see other parts of Brazil, meet a friend of Lucas's, spend more time with him. He did all the driving, thankfully. So
that's good.
You know, getting chaperoned around Brazil on a road trip. And we stayed at Miguel's place. It was amazing. very, very beautiful place. And I went, this was easily a hell yes. And that was like, it's not hell yes. Well, it was, either hell yes versus no. If I was kind of just like, that could be something fun, that would be, I think, where the hell yes portion of it should really come in. And, you can make up your own decision on what the commitment is. It could be moving in with someone. It could be a project at work that'll, be hanging around for 6 months' time. Certainly money considerations, things that are very like emotionally impactful. I think all of those sorts of things should either be that's where you can use this kind of decision-making metric of hell yes versus no.
Nope.
For smaller things, like we were just talking about, going on another date. Yeah, it's probably not the right tool to be
that's
used
a good point.
for
it's gonna be it has to hit
metric.
It has to hit it like a crucial point where the offset of time is enough that it's considerable that you think about it. Because if you do that, if you apply that concept to absolutely everything, you're probably wasting more energy and time space in your mind than it. So, like to Tim's point, okay, it's not so like his example of the coffee thing, of the coffee meeting. It makes sense if you actually think about it in that it's not just one coffee meeting. It's like hundreds of coffee meetings that are coming through at a request, or hundreds of books that can you read, right? So if it's a one standalone, fine. Like if someone messaged me right now from the podcast, if someone came from the podcast and sent out, and this happened before, can you read this book and review it? I've done that once.
Yeah.
And we had a second one, which was a digital version, and I didn't have the time, and I let them know, whatever. We sometimes get these still coming through, and if it was interesting and I really wanted to, I'd probably say, it doesn't have to be a hell yes, but it won't. But if we had 100 coming through a year, it's going to be, unless it's a hell yes, it's going to be a no. And it's just the volume. You can't take in that without affecting something else. So similarly with a Tim, it's not just one, obviously. It's hundreds probably a month. And of course you can't say yes to 20 of them. Yeah. It has to be a hell yes, because each one of them is taking whatever amount of time and then consumes most of the time. Same with Chris Sacca, I think he was saying in an interview with Tim, where he used to be living in California. And Chris Sacca was a well-known venture capital. I think he's still a venture capitalist. And he was in California and he was getting bothered so much and he was just wasting so much time that he moved. I can't remember where he moved, but he moved like somewhere rural, living in fucking random lands. And he still takes calls, nothings, but it's very remote, and so he's got full autonomy to choose what he does and doesn't. So it makes it slightly easier to, I guess, convey or converse with the people that he cares about, but then it doesn't have to be a hell yes, because he just got this huge amount of people who don't reach out anymore because he's just not even in like within reasonable distance to do a coffee chat or something like that. So certainly if we get, and I was saying this to my wife, we get approximately like 2 or 3 emails a week on people being like, can we go on the podcast? Can we have a conversation about this? A ton load of AI, maybe there's a manual one in there, but a ton of AI. Yeah. And we don't even respond to them. We just don't even, like, I might open some of them, but I don't respond. Some seem interesting, but unless it's a hell yes, I'm not responding to any of them. Yeah. Reality wise, it's just like time right now. It's not the time for it. Like I've got a lot of other things that are happening that are way more important. The podcast for us is a hobby at this stage on the side. So if it's not a hell yes, I'm not doing it, right? But if I was committed to growing the podcast right in this moment, and I was really trying to filter through the 3 or 4 we get per week to do that every single week, like shit, that would become highly annoying. And then, the application of the hell yes would be even more important. Yep. But right now it's not even in consideration because it doesn't even fall on the, is it a hell yes? I'm just going, no.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've been in the workforce, but I remember there used to be decision-making matrices, and particularly this would be related for OH&S, so occupational health and safety, for the line of work that I had. But I imagine there's other ones which are like perhaps more touching upon your world of like business decisions of do we partner with these people, or what time frame should we put on this project versus this one. Do you use that in the work context, and does any of that then, do you apply any of that to real life or like your personal life?
Nothing in the business context in itself to the real world, not that disciplined or structured, but like take a super easy SWOT analysis of strength, weakness, opportunities, threats.
Yeah.
You could do that with, I guess, options that come along with it, and you might use that as a way to balance, you know, whether you go one or the other and what are the various aspects behind it that you might choose. But it's almost the case that in a personal life, so work context, of course, that makes sense because one, you're getting paid for it. Like you've got to show some rationalization and proof as to why you might choose something over the other. But when it comes to a personal thing, it's weird in that, even as I'm saying it, we don't really do that, but it's almost as important to do it in some ways. And it doesn't have to be structured, but you got to think through what you are doing and whether the outcome of it is worth the time investment that you're doing. So I didn't rationalize nor structure really that well I'm going to do a marathon in this particular year. I didn't do a SWOT analysis or any type of technique to check it. That was more a part of me wants to do it. Part of me and the guys like, okay, I'm running some more. I think that'll be interesting. I think I want to document it. All of those have pros. Obviously the con is time, like time investment. It means I've got to go and find myself, you know, away from my family, doing all these various things. But, and I think the big but is, the one, I want to be able to achieve it and say I've done it. Two, it's fitness aligned. So anything fitness aligned, I'm happy to do more of than less of. So there's easy wins. If I'd set out the goal, I want to do a sub 3 hour marathon as like the first, which would require more effort, more time on the feet, all those sort of things. I would get to, at some point, I'm certain, a point where I've gone, this isn't a hell yes. Like I actually don't want to do this because it's taken away from life, relationships, etc. And I think I would regret that for sure. But right now the bar is doable in a commitment that doesn't impact those various things. And I don't think that it requires that level of rationalization, and it's an easier hell yes. So yeah, if I said to you, just doing a marathon, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I can do that. That's within my domain of time and everything. If I said run a sub 3 hour marathon, it's not a hell yes, because I know enough of what it would take to do that, the impact that it would have on other training, on relationships, on everything, that I go, nah, that's maybe a yeah in the future if I really cared for it, but it's just a no right now. And I don't think it needs to have a structured like you would in a work context or in an investment context or something else. I don't think it applies as well there.
Yeah. I think there's probably a mindset rather than so this would be what's the Danny Kahneman 1 versus 2?
Type A versus type B.
So there's it's like that, but there's a specific system 1 versus system 2.
Oh yeah.
And I hope I get this right. System 1 was the default, you just do things, and then system 2 is the second order, one, the thinking.
Yep.
I think there's something to using system 2 to like perfect your system 1 or make your system 1 better, so that you don't have to use system 2 as much. So for example,
correct. Yes. Yes.
I was in the gym the other day, just doing handstands, and girl, I like come down from one, shitty one. I'm feeling, all shit about myself.
Sure.
And this girl was on some machine nearby, was like, oh my God, like that was crazy. Can you give me any tips? Like I'm trying to learn handstands. So I chatted with her for a bit, and I'm like, hey, it's easier if I just like see where you're at, and then I can give you some tips. So 10, 15 minutes later, we went to the corner and I helped her out. And she's beginning, I remember this stage very vividly, where it's you're just trying to learn, like, in this a little tiny little something there, but essentially you're going off of belief, because it's this going from 0 to 10 seconds, it will take as long as going from like 10 to 30. And so it feels really, really fucking hard, and you're kind of just like, I'm not making any progress, and you're stuck in this for like weeks, if not months. And it's just, it feels impossible. And she was even saying something like that. And she asked me, how long did it take you to get to where I'm at? I'm like, oh, it's probably like 8 years now, 9 years now. And so she equates, I think, And I could see in her mind she was equating going from where she's at to just being able to hold like an okay one for 8 years. And it's like, no. It won't take that long, but it's going to kind of feel like it might take that long. And so the decision-making process kind of needs to be like belief in essence. There's she wants to do the thing, but it's not an easy decision I guess it deals with decision-making because how much uncertainty do you tolerate with certain things? So when I was learning the one arm, for example, so I got through that stage of learning the basic handstand, then it's just about like, okay, can I do shapes now? Can I do diamond? Sure. How long can I hold? Can I do presses? And all of that was just a lot more natural, easy progression. Start learning one arms, and it felt the same of this like impossibility. How the hell do I do this? And I had to make a decision at some point, which was like, I got to give it everything. Like, I can't be trying to run a marathon and also work on my presses and also do calisthenics. It's got to be, the decision here is to lean into like, there's still going to be uncertainty of whether I can do it or not. But my decision was like, I'm going to give everything so that if I can't do it, then it's like, I know officially I couldn't do it.
Yep.
And so I guess there's something like that to decision making as well. Like, what do you think about uncertainty when you're making a decision?
Well, when you were saying that, actually, maybe I was thinking around the certainty and uncertainty concept. I was just like, kind of tunes in nice with like a hell yes or a no, where the more certain you are of something, the less the factor of the hell yes, no concept even applies. Because if you're really certain that it can come to it, you don't need it to be a hell yes. It can just be like, okay, yeah, like I'm just thinking of a certainty. Swimming 50 meters, let's just say. If you're already someone who has swum before, can do it, and maybe you haven't done it in a while, but you set yourself a goal of doing it again, let's just say, it doesn't have to be a hell yes, because it's quite certain, and the path to getting there, even okay, no, let's put 5 meters, swimming 500 meters for myself. If I had to say that, I'd go, it doesn't have to be a hell yes, because there's certainty that I can do it with a set path. There's the known goals, the amount of time that it takes is fairly understandable. And so while there's effort, there's a lot of certainty behind it. And so it doesn't have to be a yes. But if there was a lot of uncertainty, maybe that's where it starts to apply, where you need a bit of a hell yes behind it, because the unknown of it all could land you into a real possibility that it never happens or it never occurs. And if you don't have that driving motivator, one motivation, two, the like self-discipline to go and do the very thing, even when it doesn't feel likely, if you don't have it as a hell yes, you're not going to do it. Like, it's not going to happen, and then you're just kind of wasting time, spinning your wheels, if the uncertainty is so high. So, but I was trying to think of like where's a place where uncertainty is generally quite high. Yeah,
gotcha. So with that girl, for example, I actually think she'll probably learn the handstand, and the main reason is I asked her like, oh, so what do you normally train, or why are you interested in this? And she was just saying there was something about handstands where she was just like, fuck yeah, that's cool. And the main predominant thing I've seen in people who get to pretty decent levels is that's the simple rationale. Sure. It's not like yeah, it's cool. Yep. Yeah, it's not like, I'm going to use this will really improve my yoga practice, or like I'm working on it like there is no other reason you would learn handstands other than like
handstands in itself is like,
I think it's cool.
Low functionality, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So interestingly enough, I still continue to do handstands today at the gym and whatnot, and I've turned it so it doesn't have to be a hell yes or a no, because there's certainty. Like, I can I go into a handstand against a wall or play around with it. Like, it's doable. There's certainty. I'm not pursuing now anything that's uncertain. So it doesn't have to be a hell yes. It's just there. But I've also moved it into, in my mind, making it a functional movement in that I do it when I'm done a back day or arms. And the reason being is I use it as like stretching my wrists and my arms.
Yeah.
So when I go and do a handstand, I'll superset it with dumbbell curls or a back movement. So I'll do it and my forearms might be tight and so my fingers, and so I'll go up on a handstand and then I'll flex my like fingers and make sure I'm like stretching it out, and it feels nice, like it feels good. So by this, I'm saying I'll hold like a 10-second, 15-second handstand against a wall for stretching purposes while I'm supersetting with bicep, and it feels nice. It's like a good thing, and then I might play around and finish with some like freestanding handstands or handstand push-ups as like just to play around to do it. And there's a lot of certainty because I've done it before. It doesn't have to be a hell yes, and if I've got the time for it, I'll do it. But I've like now recognized, that's the extent. If I was to go way further into the uncertainty for me, which is 20-second handstand holds, something else equally as difficult, okay, it would have to start being a more of a thinking around it because it's going to offset other things that I do in my day-to-day life. Yeah.
The last thing before we get on to like specific examples is the book that I just finished reading, How to Not Die Alone. Great title. Great title. It's got this quadrant similar to the SWOT, but in y-axis is enjoyment of thing and x-axis is like ability to meet people. And so essentially it was like
ability to meet people.
If you are wanting to get out, let's say you don't want to use the apps, how can you go out and meet people in real life? And it was essentially going like, you might really enjoy playing video games, but chances are you're not going to meet someone doing that. But you could like go, okay, something that you might enjoy for myself, not enjoy for myself would be going out to nightclubs, high probability of meeting people, but I'm not going to enjoy it. Then, you want to really trying to be getting to...
So in this view, it would be like the bottom right quadrant. Mean lots of people, not enjoyable.
Yes, correct.
So what would be in your top right?
So top right for me at this moment is things like, run clubs and stuff like that. And it was pretty much like you want to be trying to get into the top right as much as possible. And we'll definitely stay away from doing things that you don't enjoy and that you're not going to meet people from.
Like bottom left quadrant.
That's the hell no.
That sounds like a pain. Yeah.
That's
a good way to think about it. Like you want to be in the top right. Like if something gets you to the top right, that's almost like a hell yes. That's Like top right, hell yes. Bottom right, it's like yes, maybe a no.
Yeah.
Top left, maybe yes, maybe a no. Bottom left, nah.
Hell no. Yeah, exactly. And so I thought that was just another good way of choosing where to spend your time for certain things. If I wanted to hang out with a friend, what would be the best way of doing it? Would it be going to a bar? Would it be going on a walk? Would it be trying to do some activity that we can do together? The running, for example. All of these sorts of things, I think you can play into it and try and go like, think of it into that category, not only of is it beneficial in some sort of way. In this case, it's meeting people, but it could be networking. It could be finding a deeper relation, establishing deeper connection with your partner or a friend, or it could be, money or whatever it is, but also that kind of enjoyment factor of like, am I going to enjoy doing this as well? That in that case, even if you don't get the money, even if you don't establish deeper connection, you're still getting at the very least enjoyment from what you're doing. And I thought, that's a pretty good way of doing it. So, if you're and just leaning more into that, really having a think about it, because let's say I did this networking type event a day or two ago on Monday, Tuesday, and it was like a talk from two people at the gym. I'll shout them out, Eugenie Curry and PJ Curry. And that was like an easy yes for me, because it was like, there is a chance perhaps of meeting some people there. Turns out I didn't, because I went with a friend, blah, blah, blah. I had to leave early. But I enjoyed it. And even though I didn't get the opportunity. So
there's a high probability for things to occur with a very low cost to it. And again, that comes back to like, that's what I'm saying, the opportunity cost kind of conversation, right? It's like, what's the opportunity cost of doing something versus not doing it? And I think that's the hell yes concept kind of more closely attaches to the opportunity cost. And more often, I think the conversation of opportunity cost should be there as your littler things. When it's a really big things, then you could switch over to the hell yeses, the no's, because you almost can't even predict the opportunity cost behind it. I'm just trying to think. Let's talk about it after the Boostagram, because I want to talk. What was the last big like hell yeses and no's that we've had to, and either the problems or
some coming up, because I've got a couple of little rapid fire ones that I was thinking of that could be good for us. So Boostagram Lounge is where we thank people who are helping to support the podcast, and in particular with a Boostagram, which is a payment of Satoshis with a message attached. You can use meremortalspodcast.com/support, and it explains how to do that.
Correct. I don't think we've got any boosts that have come out.
Which is good, because I forgot my beanie today.
I was going to say, do we have any comments either as well?
I see a comment here from Cole. He says there's a lazy no and instinctive no. Push yourself to say yes to lazy no.
That's a very good point. The lazy no versus the instinctive no, because the instinctive no kind of comes from like a deep belief from the soul, from the it's a no because there's an easy other things that you should be doing. So, if someone said, let's just go catch up with not even a great friend, just someone random, and it takes away from maybe fitness or my family, it's an instinctive no. It's a nah. There's already easy prioritization, and maybe I can work around connecting with a person, but it's not at the expense of that. But the lazy no is like an example. Like this morning, I was just going to be like lazy no, like I'm not running. In fact, I was just like, I woke up early because I was going to run earlier. Decided to get warm. Then I was helping out the family. I started to be like, I'm sore. I've got a big day today. I even thought to myself, just walk down to the cafe and back. Like at least just do some movement. That's cool. Mm-hmm. And that lazy no, it was nice to push against the lazy no and be like, you know what, go. My wife ended up getting home. I said to Karen, like, I'm not going to be able to go now. I've got to look. Bang! My wife returns. So I was like, okay, got to go. So that's a very good point, because pushing against a lazy no is just the internal obstacle of doing something that you probably can do, and that points to doing something, versus an instinctive no where there's very good reasons as to why you wouldn't want to be doing it. So I agree with that. Yeah, that's very, very nice.
So I want to ask your decision making for the hopeful event of the longevity crew, the Diamandis. I don't know what's it called.
I think it's the moon. I think you're talking about the moonshot. Yep, the moonshot gathering that they're trying to do in September.
So that sounds like a hell yes for you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Which I hope it is, considering you.
I hope it goes. I hope it goes ahead.
Well, yeah. So let's just assume it goes ahead.
Yeah.
What about it makes it a hell yes for you? Like, what's the decision making?
Yeah, I think it's you mentioned with the connection networking event you had on Tuesday. It's the probability of a high amount of people who I equally find interesting or will find interesting connections purely at the individual level. That like ticks it off for me. In meeting just a whole bunch of people in really interesting areas. That's a second tick. In following along with Peter and a lot of the people in the Moonshots community. That's kind of a third tick. So it's all in the right ecosystem as well that I see things going forward. So it's in the topic that I care about, with meeting a whole host of individuals who are making it happen, that I kind of go, okay, there's no other way in the world to recreate that. There is no other way I'm going to be able to recreate this. And if it's might not happen again, fine. But it's one of those moments in time when it's unlikely this is going to occur again. Cool. That's something that, and I've got the availability of going to something like that. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So generally some of these things, and they cost money. It's like, the Abundance Summit or something. It's like 10 grand, 15 grand or something like that minimum. All goes up. Yeah. And they've got phenomenal people, usually like the likes of your Eric Schmidt or Elon or a few other people who are all in those areas. Peter himself is like supremely connected with people. So I had a conversation with Tony just recently, and it was like
Robbins.
Yes, and he's like, we've been friends for like 20 plus years. Same with Elon, he's known him for 20 plus years. Eric Schmidt, the guy, the CEO of what was DeepMind now at Google.
Larry Page?
No, not Page, not the original Google guys, but the deep mind guy.
It's like an Indian guy?
Yeah, I forget his name. Lots, extremely well connected. And I just think it's that connection that excites me as part of it. And it's just, you ain't going to have that happen here in Australia. It's unlikely it's going to happen in many places in the world. And to have it at what is relatively a fairly low cost, I go, yeah, it's a hell yes, if it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for me, it's like the probability of that, not to come away with anything beyond, holy crap, I got to interact with, as an example, the CEO and owner of Juan I, which is probably the leading like robotics company at the moment, to have a conversation with such a person about what the hell they're doing, where they came from, not just listening to it on a podcast, but more just seeing how they operate, perform, talk, which is there's a difference between seeing that in real life, like in person versus not, is like, oh, damn, like that's impressive. So as an example, this was ages ago, Emil Jurisic, I had him on the podcast, fine conversation. If you listen to that or if you listen to him on other interviews, you get a certain something from it and you understand what the person's like and the concept. But when you meet him, the person, like when you get the full rub from the person as like an individual in person, it's like another thing entirely. And I remember when I interviewed him and afterwards for a couple of months, I was like, oh shit, I can feel the difference even internally what this person's mindset and activity and whatever rubbed off on me. Same thing happened with Anthony Nowd. Same things happened with a couple of other people when I've just been in person with them and talked to them. There's a certain like almost rub of ideas and behaviors and execution that comes out of it. So that to me brings a lot of hell yeses because I know the positives that it comes from it. Again, I can only imagine the amount of hell yes or the amount of energy that I could get from something like that to a whole host of places.
Yeah, and you're the type of person who very much feeds off of energy. I remember the VeeCon you're talking about. Running around, doing all these things. Whereas for me, going to it, that was a very strong yes. I like to do things, I think, more for like, if it can kind of stack a whole bunch of things. So for example, the VeeCon for me, I'll ask you this first. What was your reasoning for going to the initial VeeCon? What was I think
the original reasons when I like got it set up to go was meet like-minded people who are in the ecosystem of that VeeFriends Gary Vee space. 2 would have been probably meeting Gary. 3 would have been building some connections that get me over to the US. That would have been like the 3 key things. Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So there was like a kind of a stacking there. So for me, it was like this lines up really like I'm already going to be on that side of the world. Number one, I'm already planning on going to the Bitcoin conference in Nashville and meeting Dave Jones and stuff there. So I'm already going to be in the US. It's very soon after that. I got the opportunity, even though I didn't care about LA at all. Going there to go meet Cole in the chat. Shout out Cole, and spend an event time with him as well, because that's the other thing. It's like you can go to somewhere else in the world but without like an event type thing, it can be hard to grab people's time in a way. So with that one, it was like he really wanted to go as well. We did actually meet Gary there. Sucked in one.
Karen's met Gary multiple times.
Yeah, twice now. And there was this kind of stacking of layers where it was like, all right, and then this will actually get me closer to seeing Peter as well. And that was a little bit more last minute, but all of those sorts of things kind of stacked for me where it was like, I like a stacking as well of it makes sense, and there was multiple reasons. So if one of them falls through, which it almost did with Cole because his dad passed away. I think it was like the week before, and it was like, oh geez, that could have just not happened. It still would have been worthwhile to go and see T-Pain.
Yeah, but and look, there's like and the big part of the hell yes as well is going to be, and something that I value a lot is memories, opportunities, doing things that are memorable and you reflect upon. And again, like of all the things that happen at VeeCon, which is plenty, like lots of good stuff, I got to something that would just about never happen was having a personal chat with people at a castle that was booked out for only bored apes.
You met people.
Yeah, dude. I had
remember that.
people.
Shit.
I had a beer with people. I've got photos with him. I'll show you afterwards.
Oh, really?
I like had a full on beer. We got like smashed together. So I got into a castle that was pure, only bored apes were allowed. And I got in with someone who had a bored ape.
Yeah.
People was in there. Like in the basement, I remember this. It was in the basement that completely renovated the thing for like a bored ape NFT thing for when VeeCon was happening. And me and Beeple were just getting like smashed at the bottom. He was like laughing, telling me all these jokes. I met Beeple like 3 times while I was at VeeCon. So I saw him at the event with Tom Billiou. He was there as well, and he recognized me as well. He was like, this dude. So I was like, hell yeah. And then meeting Tom, and Tom telling me that I was jacked. I remember this. Tom Billiou, this is 2021. So I remember like meeting him and just being like those moments. And I particularly, it was a glass zone that they rented out. And it was Tom Billiou and also Jim Quick from his book is called something to do with mastery of the brain or something like that. Yeah. Meeting Jim and hearing him talk in the way that he, articulated himself. He doesn't drink as well. And I was smashed in front of him, which was super funny. But just like that sort of those are events and memories. I go, that was awesome. Like it was memorable as hell. And I can repeat them to you right now in like vivid detail of how it happened, which makes me go, yeah, that was a hell yes. Of course it was a hell yes. For me, maximizing for those moments, absolutely. I do it again in a heartbeat. So similarly with the moonshot to kind of go, I could see that there would be some really memorable moments. I don't know who's going to be coming, reality, but I could imagine meeting an Eric Schmidt or even Peter, even Alex Wienergross, like the way that he articulates and talking about, I'd be like, man, this is cool. Like this is a human that I would have loved to meet for the type of person he is. And look, there's probably humans like that all over the world, but I just don't have access nor know who they are. So knowing that they're there and doing that makes it a bit of a hell yes.
Yeah. A hell yes coming up for me is something like doing yoga teacher training, which is once again, I can't remember, thousands of dollars to do that.
Sure.
Many weekends where you have to dedicate a significant chunk of time of your weekend.
Yep.
What am I actually getting out of it would be something along the lines of, funnily enough, I'm pretty much not tapped out, but yoga is very easy for me now in the physical sense. I went to a class spontaneously after running and before running. And so it was just like a class at Felons, very casual. And I remember just going there and I'm like, okay, this is really, really easy. Sure. So unless I started going to like the real advanced yoga stuff, the actual yoga physical practice isn't so hard. And maybe the teacher training is, but I get the feeling it's more intermediate level.
Sure, I would imagine so. Yep.
But for me, it'd be things like, learning actually how to coach and teach people because, I did that the other day with that girl, but I feel like I could have done a better job and I'd like to improve at that. Having access, I guess, to different gyms and, I guess like monetarily, it's a thing that I already do classes and stuff. So, it'd be nice to get paid for it. So there's a whole bunch of leaning into that, being a leader and teacher, which is something I'd shied away a lot from in the past, but now is something more like, okay, I feel this is a skill I should at least develop a little bit, do it a little bit, and just to see, okay, is this something truly that I dislike doing? So that's one where it's like, once again, it's kind of stacking and is a very easy decision, which is like, yes, I want to do this. Okay, you've probably seen this a bunch as well. Have you used Claude Code in the last 2 weeks?
I haven't used Claude Code last week, no.
Okay. That's been something that's been a lot of people I've seen, and across different venues of saying like, this thing is amazing. If you're not using this, what are you doing?
Sure.
Everyone should be using this. And of course they use the should word, which I don't like, but when it comes to something like that, where it's how would I say? It's futuristic, technological, new tool. why would you say no to that, for example, when a lot of people are saying yes to it? What would be your, like, have you heard that at all?
What's my reasoning as to saying
so
no
have
to
you
it?
heard?
Oh, like, what's my reasoning? Because everyone's like, you should be using it.
Yeah.
What's my reason to not to do it?
Yeah.
Well, more when they...
Especially because it's in a realm that we're very
I guess in the articulation
and,
of what they use it, it's like,
interesting.
you should use it for what? And I guess the benefit of the outcome might be, that I can think just off the top of mind would be two. One, just using the tool so you know what these tools are doing and having the availability of it. That's one thing. Two is getting the outcome from it, which, Claude Code now is being used a lot for kind of like an agentic use to operate things on your domain or like run like an agent. I guess the first one, I get it, but I'm also doing it with a whole host of other AI stuff, so kind of immaterial. The second one is there's just not that many other things that I need to be doing on my computer for it to be agentic. Like, I don't do a lot of, like, in my work context, we're not allowed to use that. Simple as that, because it's restrictions with what you can and you can't use. So there's other AI that's used there. But for my personal life, there's very few. So it's podcast stuff and then personal life. And I've already got other AI things that I use for that. So there's very little reason for me to go and run a Claude Code or something else for that purpose. I might play around with some others just to get the feeling of what they're responding to in the response, but it's just not as practical for me to use unless there's a genuine reason for it, and there just isn't.
Yeah, yep. Gotcha. Because it's correct. Probably like the meta narrative behind it is these things are really powerful, and it could be, if the word coding is what's stopping you from using it, then that's the wrong mindset to have, because it's not coding per se anymore. You don't have to learn Python. You don't have to. You're simply just talking to it and saying, "Hey, I want this to look like this," and it'll go and do it. So, I think that's my kind of reason behind it, which is I'm not actually that interested in building something for myself. I'm sure it can surprise me at being like, wow, it can create this thing, and that would have been impossible when I was trying to learn Python 3 years ago for me to do, because I'm like, the amount of time and effort to get to that level would be crazy. But for me, I'm simply just more of an ideas guy, or there's a functional thing which I can use already, and that someone else has developed. Like, I don't want to play in this middle ground of it kind of works, but it doesn't. So then I have to
agree. So that's like the concept of the one-shotting things with AI. What I still sit in like this phase of, I've used some of the like code creator things and build some stuff, and my mind always goes to, oh yeah, but I can see this error, I can see this issue, and I can see this issue, and then there's like two ways. Either one, you can continue prompting and getting it to fix those things and going through it. But I'm always like, if it's not one, it's weird. It's like, if it's not one shot, fuck it, I don't care. Like, what am I going to use this for? Because then I'm just going to go and fix all these various things. And if there's a very particular thing, maybe I don't know the language nor the thing to inject it with to go and do it, right? Like, you almost still have to need to know the context behind, well, if you want to use this type of time form, or if you wanted to have it broken down into 9 columns to do a particular wave set change up to the letters, unless you know exactly what to prompt it with that, you're fucked. Like, how are you going to do that with just purely what I would say is the language of conversation versus the language that is used in actual technical world? Like, that's very, very different. If you know about containerization and using the data in a data lake or a data warehouse versus a data mart, right? If I told you these things, you're going to be able to find it. I don't know how to set this up, but if you tell agentically, you're like, okay, I need to build this website so I can propagate and create these things. Maybe it creates a data lake for you rather than a data mart, right? And then it goes, well, actually, when you scale that, then it's kind of fucked, because you've got an unstructured data that needs to be filtered through to an API layer with data layer. Unless you know that, you're kind of shit out of luck. So that can create problems in that at the front facing, it looks like it's kind of working, and so that's why it's kind of go, well, if it's not one-shotting it, and I have to go and decide for these things, I kind of don't want to do it in the first place. I'm sure it'll get there. At some point, it'll just go beyond, and it'll recursively get better and do all the things that it needs. But it still sits in some sort of middle ground for me, where I go, I didn't care about doing that just now because again, there's no full-on functional practical reason for me to use it to make anything at the moment.
Yeah, yep, sure. My last question is, where do you think you're poor at decision making still? And this could be in like topics or genres, or it could also be like the actual decision making process. Are there areas where you think you let yourself down, or what contributes to bad decision making?
I think that's easy, and it's not a category, and I think this applies broadly to all humans. It's the areas that you're still more emotional than you are rational. In most rational places, as long as if you're in a rational position and you've existed in the world enough to know logical things, it's easy. Like, it's so easy if emotion was driven out of it, which is where's like really, really non-emotional things that I'm thinking in my life. Sometimes it's like work related, where there's a low cost factor where I care about really the decisions. I'm just more caring about what's the right optimized thing. What do we need to do to achieve this? And you remove emotions out of it. Very easy. Maybe other ones would be like cost related things with something that you don't really care about. Take, for instance, putting in fans, right? I might go down the path of, look, it's going to be functional, easy to maintain, blah, 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 make decisions. Okay, cool, whatever. But where more emotion lies, I think that's where it's always going to be a little bit more difficult. You're going to have the challenges of the hell yeses or nos where there's emotion. And when you move away from logic to emotion, you're going to have some variation to what someone externally would comment on because they only see it in a rational view versus you seeing it emotionally. So if I made a statement of a friend that I had from primary school was trying to catch up with me, and it's one day out of a quarter of a year. Let's just say it's 4 times a year, and they just want to go and catch up for tennis. And someone externally, they might look and go, yeah, why wouldn't you do that? It's like an hour each, like 3 months. Maybe you get to do some fitness, like play tennis or something. Like, that's perfect. Why wouldn't you do that? Maybe internally, I go from an emotional perspective. I go, yeah, but I haven't seen him from forever, and I don't want to what if I have to talk about all these various things? And if it's fitness, is it going to be longer? And then is it going to become more? When emotion comes into it, yeah, it becomes more of a challenge. And I think that still exists. Whatever I could come up with an idea, it just applies in wherever I'm still more emotional, where emotions are still more of the key conveyor or decision makers. That's where more of a challenge is going to come between a hell yes or a no.
Yeah. For me, it's that's a good point. The emotion is, I mean, there's a meme which is, I made a calculated decision, or I took a calculated risk, but boy, am I bad at math. Yeah. And that's one where you go, okay, yeah, look, that's where simply just not having enough IQ to do the math, do the various probabilities correctly is what's letting you down. For me, I look at 2 things, or I think 2 things come to mind, where it's one is still financial investments, I'd say, in terms of budgeting and day-to-day stuff, easy as. There's no, I do not falter on that one. But and both on the positive and negative side, I used to be too miserly and miss out on opportunities or things which would be fun because I was just in default too much saving money. Yep. I think I've gotten to a point now which is a very...
It's a good balance.
Yeah, it's a good balance, I think, where I'll spend out for things which are worth it, or in the past I would have said it obviously wasn't worth it, but you get my point. Yeah. But the financial investments in particular, I still think my decision making process on the higher level is it needs work. And this is where I've got some stuff on my phone of let's see, what did I call it? Investing fundamentals, things like this, where it's long term, act quickly when trying to protect money, act slowly when trying to make money. Kind of rules of thumbs for things where what you can or should do when it comes to testing out things and putting money into that as well. So that's one that is one I'm actively trying to work on, and you'll see that in the monthly goals for next month. The other one is, how would I say it? It'd be committing to things, feeling like I've committed to something, even though it was just that sounds cool. So, perfect example. The other day, a friend at the gym was like, "Hey, there's this like big jumping castle thing that's in Brisbane."
I did see that. Yeah.
World's biggest jumping castle or something like that. And I'm like, "Oh, that sounds cool." She's like, "Oh, that's awesome. We should go." And we looked at it, and then it's only on this weekend, or yesterday, and on Friday and Saturday this coming week. And then the more I looked into it, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a bit of a drive away. Like, it's going to cost a bit more than I thought as well. It's going to conflict with some other things that I was wanting to also do on these weekends. And it took more of an effort than it should have been to be like, hey, I'm actually... even though I showed that real initial wanting to do it, it took more effort to then say like, hey, I know we kind of said we'd do this, but like, I don't actually want to. That's one where I go, all right, the decision-making process, it needs to be easier in that sense to say no to certain things, or to be more willing to admit fault in essence, or admit that I've changed my mind. Again, it's like you can make a lot of things novel, but doesn't mean that you have to do every novel thing. And when it comes, and that's the bit with the emotion. That's what I'm sort of saying, where it's a more default yes due to the emotion, because emotion carries you along to go, and that's where that opportunity, the rational view of the opportunity cost, would help. Obviously in rational places, like you say with the finances, it's easy because it's kind of like in by default, you don't have to worry about it. But in places where the emotion drives the answer, it's easier than done. But that's like, that's where on some sort of review of the opportunity cost, or what other things do I have on, or whatever, needs to apply. But obviously they're emotional to you for a reason, right? So that's always going to be the challenge that most humans are going to have, and it'll probably fluctuate, because once you figure that aspect of it out, and no longer becomes a problem from having to determine whether it's a hell yes or no, it'll just fluctuate to another thing that then becomes a new emotional thing that then is like, fuck, I can't like determine it in this area. And I don't think it's one of those answers where at some point someone in the future will never be not emotional about something and be able to determine everything's like the differentiation between a hell yes or no. I don't think you can ever get that. I think it's just more a case of knowing those concepts and problems as a human will always exist, and you will stumble upon them. Just have the reasonability that when you do make that mistake, be aware that there is ways that you can kind of like claw it back and think about it. But the reality of thinking, you'll never make that mistake ever or again because you've done it again, I think is a false lead. It's more of a case of just being aware of it and then having that as your fallback conversation on, look, whatever. I thought this because this is actually, I've got this other opportunities or other things I can't actually go by. Sorry, like that's just the reality of it. Do you think there always needs to be that rational bit? Is there a way where if you just lean into the emotional decision making, it can actually be beneficial?
So I think I was just thinking this, not always, but it's helpful in that the emotional satisfies your answer, the rational satisfies everyone else's answer in that, or the question that they may have. In that emotionally, you can sell yourself what you need and you can make do with that. But you can't sell the emotion to somebody else.
Yeah.
You need to actually sell the rationality of it.
I guess you need to...
Example, I was supposed to meet up with a mate of mine yesterday, like for a little family catch-up event in the morning. We couldn't make a run in the morning because of what they were doing as well in the morning. And so we're like, okay, we'll catch up a little bit later when like kids wake up, and then we'll go and see each other. And anyways, just timing wise, that was happening. It was basically like, hey, no, we're not going to do that because actually we've got to drive this other way and do this other thing. So we're going to just leave that to the side. And emotionally, it's very easy for me to answer what I need to do because my family, and I don't have to wake up my daughter and all these various things. But rationally, I have to explain a little bit so that the answer for them was understood. if I explained it in an emotional sense, that would make no sense for anybody. Like, not
Yeah.
even the closest person really understands it fully as much as you will. Maybe the closest people in your life, you might be able to explain with emotion and they can kind of understand if they're super connected. But generally, you have to explain rationally to people what that answer is to you, unless you don't care. And then you just don't care about it. Just explain yourself emotionally.
Yeah.
Who cares? You, like a date that's meaningless, you could just be like, hey, I'm not feeling it. Sorry about that. You don't have to explain any other rationality. It's just your emotion of the feeling. Cool, fine. You leave it. There's no need to explain any more rationally for this person. That would help them understand, but sometimes you just don't.
Yeah, it's funny. You have to explain rationally why you're emotional about something.
Exactly. And you don't have to always, but as another human, they're not going to one-to-one map to your emotion.
Yeah.
That they're going to be flavored by their own emotion. So there has to be a rationality conversation between them.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure.
I think we'll leave there.
Yeah.
More lads. Because I've also got to tailor in and do a couple of things.
Very good. I do see a comment here from Lucas, who also I was mentioning before. And he goes, can I have a hell yes? Sure you can, Lucas. Hell yes.
Hell yeah. I hope you're well, good sir. I hope you are well as well there, Cole, and whoever is listening as well. Live at 9 a.m. we go live. Again, if you want to support, you can do so through the various means.
I've got a suggestion. So we did mention the marathon just before.
Yes.
So we have a team set up. So if you are in Brisbane and you're listening in, and you want to join our team, just reach out and we'll give you like the link.
Oh yeah. Can they search for it? Can they search Me Immortals?
Oh,
team?
they maybe they can. Yeah, they probably can. But it's easier if I just give a
Sure,
link.
easier for a link.
I think I put the link in the Discord.
Yep.
But if you can't find it there or if you want it, let us know. And I'm pretty sure you get a discount as well if you use it. So
yeah, Cole, if you want to decide to come out,
that would be cool.
That would be cool. I think Luke has done a couple more things there as well.
Yeah, haha, love you, mate. Love you too, Lucas.
I hope you're all well then, Me Immortalites out there. Take care. Be a little bit more nicer, kinder to each other as you go along. And talk to you next Sunday. Be well. Immortalites, one out.
Karen out. Bye.
Dude.